Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Bullish on Business. And today I am thrilled to welcome Jason Kurilin from the CEO of Sports Developers. You know, Jason brings deep global corporate experience and has channeled that into entrepreneurship, building commercial real estate, and now pioneering sports and athletic development projects. Jason and I first met at the Miami Gold Card versus EB5 meeting back before the Gold Card was even available. He's been close to the action and invests in the immigration ever since. And his perspective on the EB5 and global capital is exactly what founders and investors need to hear right now. Jason, welcome to the show and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. It's a good day, and it's symbolic that it's on my birthday.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're going to jump right in, and everyone likes to know, how did this all get started? What's your origin? And what is your origin story? You know, what initially convinced you to jump into the EB5 space, and what do you think about it, and why did you do it?
So I think that people, immigrants like myself, and I'm a naturalized U.S. citizen since 2017, and the path of different people coming to America. I mean, it's very very personal, very very different. If somebody told me 15 years ago that I'd be living in the States, I would probably not believe. Though I consider myself sort of Western educated and Western minded person, coming from Eastern Europe. But I was totally fine. I was working for oil and gas, and this was actually BP and Amoca, right? So it was very corporate. Energy, and what energy companies do, they go to different provinces around the globe looking for oil and gas. So I joined them about 30 years ago. I don't remember when exactly. And everything was fantastic. Now, coming to realizing sort of what America brings, people think about different things. To me, uh, the words such as freedom and protection of private property, and protection of personal freedoms, freedom of speech, these are not empty words, right? So it's important for me, and there are certain things beyond money. The money is important. There's lots of money in America, but also freedom, basic human freedoms are also important. So the reason I'm telling all of this, EB5 is a wonderful program, which I know many people have been criticizing. Some politicians been criticizing, and specifically, everything that the administration is doing right now is changing. Of course, I'm not going to even talk about that, but it's an ability to improve and maybe go further. But the very idea of EB5, which is okay, you're based internationally, you're a foreign person, you want to come to America for good, you want to be successful here. Well, how's about you invest? And you can invest by giving us the money and forgetting about it, or you can invest and actually think about returning this money back, and,
Right.
and making some interest, right? So I believe that the concept of invest and taking some risk is actually a good one, because whilst you're doing preparation for that investment, you have to study a lot. You have to do lots of research. You need to, understand few things. I mean, it's impossible to say, okay, I'm going to pick that project without diving into what is the industry presenting, what is the statistics, is the industry being successful, not successful. EB5, if I remember correctly, started 30 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, and it was all related to creating jobs, right? Otherwise, Congress would have never supported that path to citizenship in the United States just by giving money. That's strange. If you create jobs, though, with your investment, that's fantastic. And so, 10 jobs per investment. There is a methodology, and there are certain, certified companies that are carrying this. Our project specifically, I think, was about 89 or 90 jobs, which always interested me. Like, how did we arrive to 90 jobs? But whatever. So it's 90 jobs, which means potentially eight, seven, eight, nine investors, which is great. And so the concept of EB5 has always been extremely appealing to me. When I first heard about it 10 years ago, I basically said, wow, this is great. So you are helping foreign individuals come to America, follow the path that you have done, and also they're bringing money. And
Right.
and immediately, my idea was like, gosh, what if I um, can help these people come to the United States, but also what if these people could help me
Mhm.
by allowing to use their funds and channel those funds into my own project. So that's kind of the central idea. But this is for me and my group, this is the first EB5 project. So um, happy to tell you that first I was super careful and I kind of wanted to study. I wanted to understand what does it take to
Mhm.
attract these people? How do you find these people? How do you source the investors? So, um, my partners and I, we set up a company which was a brokerage house. And the
Okay.
job of that brokerage house was to look for investors. So before we even talked about, attracting the investments, we kind of said we're going to study the market and maybe have a business where we get the percentage interest or get some commission for finding investors. So we set up a company called Second Wind DB5. It's still active, but not super active because that market is very, very curtailed. But the market is shrinking in the Eastern Europe. But this was a great experience to understand what's valuable to investors, what's driving investors, what's driving their decisions, and it's been eye-opening. It's a very, very, very complex, though interesting business, very demanding, very challenging. Um, when you sell, when you sell iPhones or you sell shoes or apparel, that's pretty straightforward, though not simple. EB5, you're not just selling an investment product. You selling new chapter in life of people. You selling an opportunity for them to get path to citizenship in America, and it's as you can imagine, it can be super complex, or it can be on a spur of a moment where all the stars align and the investor says, this is exactly the project I want, this is exactly the people I wanted to deal with. You need to earn trust. Uh, Later back in 2019, we haven't had this, crazy idea. What if there was a global platform like Amazon?
Yeah.
And people could come in and could basically say, this is the investment I'm looking for. This is the, specific EB5 project that I'm interested. This is my family situation, and put an offer and wait until brokers and immigration attorneys and all other constituents and players come back to you with an offer. This is what we could do for you. And we thought this would be almost like an Amazon. In fact, we came up with the name Citizenship plus Amazon Citizen. And I think
Oh,
I even
that's
had
clever.
yeah, and I even have a trademark for this name, but unfortunately I lost the .com website, which people are trying to sell back to me. So somebody will do it. It's just a matter of time. It's a very, very complex product. There will be governments involved and lots of constituencies, but at the end of the day, some platform, global platform, where investors meet with service providers,
Mhm.
has to be created, and it will have place. It's just you and I understand it's just a matter of time.
Right. It really is. And I thank you for that. It is complicated, but what I found when I spoke with you and Ashkish, who works
Yes,
with
Ashish is my partner, huh?
he really laid it out. When I look at your project and the important aspects of of your project, you have every single I dotted, every single T crossed. You have answered all the questions. And I think that that really speaks to your due diligence. The project, I think, is also very special in that you are really mapping these funds for sports and athletics, which is for youth facilities, multi-sport complexes, and really to bring the community together. And not only are you creating all of those jobs, you're bringing something to the community that is going to be enjoyed by everyone in the community. How did you actually come up with that idea? I
Sure.
though want to circle back with your huge idea of global citizenship because I did not know you had that idea prior to you just describing that. So let's talk a little bit about the sports angle, and then I want to ask a few questions about your global citizen idea, which is really cool.
So let me talk about the project specifically,
Yes.
and for a second, even unrelated to EB5. So sports in American society has always been, played a huge role. Okay, always. Um, it's part of the culture. If you're good in sports, you're sort of successful, and you are in the upper stage of the Maslow hierarchy, and you're respected, and it's great. So there's never been a lack of sports in the American culture. Now, what's happening lately, and the trend we're seeing is commercialized approach to delivering sports facilities, right? So in the old days, who could afford indoor, expensive, air-conditioned space? Could an average club afford to rent such a space? And if we go back into the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, I could probably draw some statistics, but largely speaking, by talking to the industry, I mean, that was not the case. A local club in Houston or in Arizona or in Florida, probably couldn't afford a sport facility. Now they can, because of the influence of the overall sort of the industry, how parents and kids aspire to be successful in sports. It's probably related to opportunity, which is a rare opportunity, to get scholarships with best colleges. And we all talk scholarship, but like there are certain sports where only 1% of kids will end up getting scholarships, but still it's 1%. It's not only that, as I said, this is how now parents talk to their kids, because kids are almost entirely, their free time is in gadgets, right? This is how they discover the world, and it's no longer, hey son, let's sit down across the table, let's talk about your life, let's talk about the future. That's not how communication happens. They talk through engagement in their sports life and their successes. They travel together. They go to hockey, team games. They go to volleyball moms. I think the books will be written about volleyball moms and what it means for parents to accompany their kids to all those tournaments. Baseball, American football, right? So it's all common. What we see is the demand and the purchasing power. So we now in a position to actually plan and build multi-million dollar facility, uh, where the tenant is going to be a club, and the club is supported financially by the owners based on personal guarantee of the owners, and that kind of creates a sufficient project. At the end of the day, we can dream about building whatever, but if banks don't support the construction and don't finance your construction based on poor credit score, poor credit report, or the lack of viability or security of the finances in the eyes of the bank, it's not going to move forward. Well, guess what? There are special investment funds right now, federal level. There are huge funds, huge money are pouring into the sort of kids sport, youth sport programs. And I'm not talking about high level, not NBA, NFL, these multi-billion dollar institutions, but really locally. And so this is one opportunity where we thought we would jump in as developers. And we started with a metal warehouse type building where I always thought, it's probably going to go to, oil and gas, oil field services, one of your Schlumbergers or Halliburton's. Well, guess what? They never showed up.
Hmm.
And the offer to rent those facilities came from a local volleyball club called Katy United here in Katy. And of course, my first reaction was I started laughing, and I thought this was April Fool's joke or something when my real estate people called me about, hey, it's going to be a 10-year contract from a local volleyball club. So I could never believe that. But they came in and they presented guarantees and they presented bank guarantees. So we basically thought, okay, let's give it a try. Payment would come on the first of every month,
Right.
never default, very financially stable. And so then as the club was growing, they came to us 4 or 5 years later, actually 4 years later, to say we are growing out of your space, build us a new facility. And this is the story of an average sort of real estate developer working for sports and athletics. And then, you kind of start thinking, okay, well, am I ready to take a big loan and put personal guarantee on something where sport club is coming in? And what if tomorrow they change their mind? What if there's a situation or some kind of, a problem, and the sport club, ceases to exist? What you're going to do with that space? And we had to do a fundamental sort of deep analysis of the market. And, if that tenant disappears, could there be another one? I made the decision to put $5 million into building sport facility here in Katy, Texas, which is close to Houston, western part of Houston, as the COVID was raging. So imagine March 2020, everything gets shut down, and I'm about to pick up the phone. I was in Europe, and pick up the phone and say, "Go ahead, start the construction, take the money." And a few people called me saying, "What are you doing? I mean, look, everything gets shut down. Entertainment, sports, will be closed for a long time. It's a bad decision. Don't do it." And my reaction was, well, if you think that because of this virus, the volleyball will cease to exist for youth in the state of Texas, I fundamentally disagree with this. Yes, there will be a shutdown time, but I believe that volleyball there is to stay for a long time. And I said, go ahead. And we actually made some good choices because we saved a lot of money on construction at that time. There were some enhanced opportunities with services and materials. So this was
I
good
love that
decision.
you were such a risk taker. Now,
You
getting
have
to
to
the
take risks.
volleyball, my good friend is about ready to build out a volleyball, but sand volleyball. She played volleyball in scholarship to university as a volleyball player, and then she started playing sand volleyball when she lived in Colorado. They had some indoor sand volleyball, and so she wants to build a sand volleyball facility. She's looking for like 5 acres in northern Michigan right now. So I think that you're right. And my son, he's a big volleyball guy, and volleyball is a wonderful group sport and definitely very popular.
So Rose, uh, volleyball or other types of sports, pickleball is, show me anybody in the entertainment industry in America right now who's not talking about pickleball.
Right.
Paddle now. Paddle is on the thoughts of people. Could that be a next pickleball? And of course, there's tons of statistics. It's all becoming very transparent. You have these apps that show you after each game where you in the global ranking. After playing. I remember when we were kids and we played soccer. It was called football in Europe, but like I could not imagine showing up on a global rating, after each time I play soccer, right? It would be unimaginable. Equally so, I cannot imagine my parents paying $10,000-$15,000 a year for me playing soccer. So they probably think that I'm insane, and they all do now. It's part of the family
Wow.
budget.
It's a
And
part of
so
it's our culture.
well, it's the trend, right? So whether it's sand volleyball or pickleball or paddle, it's an opportunity. Okay, it's an opportunity that you have to think about. You need to evaluate and take a risk. Fundamentally, from a financial standpoint, the concept is who's gonna ultimately be responsible for paying back the bank if things go south, if there is a problem. There's no rent. Okay, so who's gonna pay the money? And fundamentally, you need to have a plan on if for some reason, it's like any other business, right? So if for some reason you're no longer getting your monthly rents, how are you going to use that building? How are you going to use that facility? If there is an institution such as a college or a university that willing to, pay your rent for sand volleyball, it's okay. Sand volleyball is very, very different. It's a completely different game from, standard indoor volleyball. And I don't know much about sand volleyball. I own my 50% of my own local volleyball club called T4, and I'm learning that business. My partner is actually a former national team player from Ukraine, Vladimir Titarenko, and he's technically a European champion. So it's a glamorous business. It's fantastic business. Sand volleyball, though, is very different, and he's been telling me it's a completely different sport that he would not even play. So need to think about the opportunity. Need to think about whether market supports that sport, whether there's demand, and thirdly, who's going to be financial risk? Who's going to take financial risk?
Right.
If A, B, C, D all go wrong and nobody pays you the money, who's going to be paying the bank every month? Because bank is not going to wait.
No.
And bank will give you no excuse, but, and there'll be no, no forgiveness. So it requires financial discipline and operational discipline as well. So with our project, once again, we saw the opportunity. We thought we would take some risk. We felt like there is a popular sport, and we questioned like why volleyball. 15 years ago it was not as popular. Now there are 6,000, whatever, 6,500 teams that are registered, and it's growing, and there's LOV professional league. There's going to be another professional league. I mean, it's absolutely booming. And who could have thought 20 years ago that it would be volleyball? New emergent sports, the people talking about handball. And I'm not even sure that if handball is you're familiar with what handball is, and is this going to be popular in America? It's hard to say. You need to talk to sport marketing experts. What's going to be the next sport? Probably, people don't know, but businessmen such as us, especially in real estate, we need to possess this ability to have humanitarian vision on industries, on things, have the feel for what sport is going to go in which location and in which building, which type of building, and where it's going to be successful. And if we possess that skill, we're going to be fine.
It is definitely on the upswing. And I'm just curious, are investors actually gravitating towards projects tied to sports and wellness and youth development as they, go into their investment portfolio? Have you seen the different lifestyle angle of investment being more intriguing?
That's a great question. So you probably would you need to continue asking this question. We are still a young company with assets that are in total about 35-40 million dollars. If you talk to $100 million real estate firms in sports, they'll probably give you maybe a more refined answer with more knowledge. Now, for what I see kind of at where we are, sports and athletics still falls under the category of entertainment when you talk to banks, okay? But these are conventional banks. Do we see explosion similar to dot-coms, back in the days, or everybody wants to invest in, high tech and IT, 5, 7 years ago, and people just give me the project, here's the money, just give me the project, I don't care. No, we don't necessarily see this kind of interest. We don't see any explosive reaction to investors. Now, we do read about very serious institutional investors coming in, and they're specifically interested in sports and athletic, right? So they're interested in different types of technologies. In the court, for example, just to give you an idea, in the sports courts, one of the limitations are the lines, right? So you can have lines for one type of sport, another type of sport, but it's really when you have lines for 3, 4 sports, let's say basketball, volleyball, pickleball, you're already coming in, and there's so many lines that it's kind of not easy, right? So so German folks called ASB floors, they came in and they introduced the glass floor, which is specialty glass, very firm, very sturdy. And then there's LED lights underneath, and you can come in and you can pretty much say, give me any sport lines you want, give me
That's
basketball,
so
give me.
clever. Wow,
Yeah,
great
it's
idea.
good. And they I think they're certified by sort of basketball association, and they're actually selling their products successfully now. They visited us in Houston, and we felt in love with their products. We were so happy. folks like us, we need credit. Okay, we need some financial help because that product, as you can imagine, it's extremely I mean it's affordable, but it's not cheap.
Right.
It's expensive, right? I do feel that if I put that floor in one of my gyms, I would probably have an avalanche of customers and it would become, like one of my investors put it, is going to be a museum or, sports museum. Absolutely. But, when you have an incremental investment need of about $1 million or up, you kind of start thinking about it and it doesn't fit your standard model. We all have economic models we calculate. We need
Sure.
some level of return. And so for that, I need either some sponsors to help me, which maybe I need to be doing better job looking for those sponsors, or it needs to be with the sellers of the product giving me credit terms.
Well, let's talk about that because this podcast is going to be seen by those people. What kind of sponsorship would have you considered? Would they be like gear, like the basketballs and the Nikes of the world, that type of thing?
So it's a great question. So I'm very confident that I have an opportunity to build a small, think about 14,000, right? Think about two basketball courts for sport facility indoors. Absolutely. We are kind of in the south here. So, we need air conditioned space. Nothing's going to work here without air conditioning. And so imagine a wonderful air conditioned space with wonderful lights, two basketball courts, three volleyball, maybe six pickleball. If I had a serious sponsor helping me with 1.2 million dollars to put that wonderful ASB floor, and of course this would be on credit term. I can absolutely assure that I can put more sports during the day, and
Hmm.
my hours would be filled just by even renting the space
Hmm.
from 7 o'clock in the morning until midnight. Here,
Yes. Oh, it
here at
sounds so
my
exciting.
yeah, it's absolutely so. I'm willing to reach out. It's just there's not enough time during the day for me to do all of
That's
that,
for you.
and I can't. So I'm thankful to your podcast, and maybe somebody will hear me out and will reach out. So I know how rent works here. I know because my volleyball courts, and we have six volleyball courts here locally. Prime time is always taken. Okay, so prime time with sport facilities anywhere in America, where the large cities are, especially Houston metro is 7 million people, they're always taken. So from 5 to 9, we're doing fine. It's always taken. We get good money. It's quiet right now. I mean, I got sport gym behind this wall, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Yes, everybody in school, people are working, so I don't have any demand in the morning, which eats up my margin, right? Because I have to pay for electricity, I have to pay taxes, I have to pay insurance, and the costs are building up. So I need to have an ability to put more sports into my court, and one of the barriers are the lines on the floor. I mean, the lines are
That's
restricted.
funny. Yeah, that's interesting.
If I had Nike or one of those wonderful Adidas or one of those companies, sponsoring the glass ASB glass floor with the lights, of course I would put more business, and of course I'd be more profitable, and I would happily advertise them, and I would happily, return the money back.
Hmm. Wow, that sounds like you've got such a captive audience there in Houston, 7 million residents, but you're on the outskirts where a lot of the suburbia, where you've got a lot of the children and the people that are active that are looking to really engage. And I think it sounds like a brilliant idea. Well, thank you for giving me some in-depth knowledge about the whole sports. You have such a range, Jason. I think your range from your experience, you've worked in mergers and acquisitions, real estate, oil and gas. Now with EB5, I think that you really bring such a depth and breadth to this space. When my question next, I want to kind of talk a little bit about your experience as an immigrant and coming to the United States and your unique view of global citizenship. And could you, unless it's proprietary, because I think you're onto something there. Can you dig a little deeper into that concept for me?
Sure. So the question is generally about investment immigration. So, or is this more related to what we're trying to do with sports?
No,
Just
no.
to clarify for me.
Like, I think the sports is so, I mean, we could talk, there, I mean, we could talk for hours because I'm so intrigued by, I'm thinking climbing walls, I'm thinking sand volleyball, I'm thinking these lines on the floor being more invisible, very huge. It's like you'll have a very versatile room, and you could, I'm so excited. And we, no matter where you go in the United States, we have so much going on in sports development. In Traverse City, we've got, we've got a minor league, but that organization, they're building out just like you're doing. It's so exciting. So we could go on that, but let's kind of circle back to the
Okay.
immigrant and the Amazon type approach to migration, because why I'm so excited about you to tell me your thoughts on that are because I'm a trend spotter. I used to work for IBM, and when I worked for IBM, they taught us to really watch those global megatrends. And
Sure.
AI is a megatrend, but the megatrend that I'd like that you're touching on is this whole migration megatrend. The
Sure.
world is traveling. The world wants to move. You came from Eastern Europe. You're in the States. We've got people coming in from China, India, but also the Americans are leaving. They're going to Portugal. I mean, the whole world is moving. And so this concept of a global citizen and being able to really meet the need of this megatrend of migration. I hope I'm not, am I on the same track with what you were
Yeah,
considering?
absolutely. So I understand the question, and let me provide a couple of thoughts. So first of all, fundamentally, what is underpinning, the desire of people to migrate and sort of move around? I believe that there was a study done of how many people globally want to move to different country, from one province to another, and these are in hundreds of millions of people. I believe if I may be wrong, but I believe the number is 150 million plus of those who would like, hypothetically, to move to America. Why? Because, America is, historically presented, kind of the combination of different desired features for people from around the globe, where there is impartiality, where there is checks and balances in the systems, where such words as which we started: freedom, protection of property rights, ability to get fair judgment and fair trial.
And
Uh,
then the other one that I always like to talk about are universities. We have some
Education, absolutely,
the
and
education for the children.
right.
And that's why I love working in this space, this immigration space, with my daughter, who's an immigration attorney, and I'm an influencer in the space of immigration and
Sure.
that type of thing. So it's because, I was born and raised here, but we're selling the United States of America because I love sales. And so really being a proud sponsor, it really is something that I enjoy, and it makes my heart go like really flutter to hear you as an immigrant
Sure.
say these things, because we've gotten a bad rap over the last 10 years. I lived in England for 10 years, and as I was deploying my electronic medical record software, and there'd be people who love America and there'd be people that don't so much. So
Sure, sure. And
really,
it's a personal, yeah, it's a personal choice. And I'm not going to be, wasting the time of your listeners to kind of saying, oh, that's my preference, this is my preference, that. We're talking about some universal concepts, right? So some people want to move to America, some people want to move out of America. I think there are 40 plus different countries who present opportunities to do what's called investment immigration, which is you get a path to citizenship in a given country, whether it's Malta or Cyprus or Turkey, or countries in Europe such as Portugal, and others, and you are allowed to get this opportunity to become a local citizen after investing, right? So you can invest in certain instruments. You can go and buy, local stock, or you can simply give money to the government, or you can, invest in other instruments. My personal view is, like, I never thought of America as a country where you could come in and just pay the money, whether it's a fee, right, and get path to citizenship. It's just a foreign concept to me personally. I never thought this would be an opportunity like this. Otherwise, maybe I would act differently when I was younger. And my own path to citizenship was through something called L1A, which is international manager when you're with corporations. So
I
it's not
had, for my business, I had several L1As because
L1A, right?
yeah, I'm familiar with that. That was a good program, and it is a
Yeah,
good.
it's great. It was not easy. My package of documents was that thick, and I had to prove my previous experience and all my subordinates and my ability to hire and fire, and it was quite serious. I mean, it was no fun. And genuinely, right? It's hard to trick the system, right? To say, oh, we need this guy as international manager. In fact, you don't. That this will be self-explanatory. So it was a process which took about a year and a few lawyers to help me. And I'm extremely grateful to my employer at the time. So ultimately, I got my green card. So that's great. Lots of friends of mine won the lottery. And you win the lottery, you get an opportunity to get the green card. You come to the U.S. Embassy, and they tell you, okay, that's great, but here's one condition: within 6 months, you need to sell all your property. You need to completely move out, and there'll be no tricks. Like, you can keep your previous, passport, citizenship, and then you, just in case, can get American passport. This is not the way it's supposed to work, right? So the United States always want to have evidence that if person says I want to immigrate to America, that the person is actually genuine.
Mhm.
And if the person just wants to have an extra passport, which is the blue passport, this is not the way it should work, right? So hopefully at some point, Congress will debate that, and people with appropriate sort of at appropriate level will talk about this. It's just, I'm telling you, as a normal citizen, this is what surprises me, and that's what I'm seeing. But EB5, I think, is very fair, and it's actually exactly the way it's supposed to work, because you are coming from Latin America or South Korea or any other part of the world, and you say, I want to become U.S. citizen. Ultimately, I want my family, my kids, access to technology, access to education, um, and actually, I earned the money, and the source of income is very transparent. I earned the money in a legitimate way. I paid my taxes. It's not related to any funny activity or, God forbid, criminal activity or something. And I can prove to the U.S. government that the money are legal. And guess what? Based on my own risk and based on my own education and judgment, I will make a decision on which project I'm going to select. And then after that, I may get my money back or I may not get my money back. It's pretty based on risk, but it's an educated judgment. And United States basically says, this is great. You invested the money, you created jobs in America, and you exercised the risk. So you are potentially an American citizen. You're just like us. You've taken the risk, you invested the money. We are welcoming you to America. So this is fantastic. Now,
Yes.
the problem with EB5, personally, and I've been dealing with EB5 for the last 10 years because of the side business I had, but now I'm kind of in the game. This is what I feel, and I would be prepared to talk about this in any audience. As a newcomer, as a new kid on the block, I feel extremely high barriers for me to enter. I feel that um, there are there are proliferations, there are groups or interested groups that have been created over time, and unless you're part of that group, you really don't have a lot of choice, to grow yourself and grow your EB5 capabilities. You need to invest a lot of money in marketing. You need to have first-in-class project, and you know, truly, if your project is not strong and you are new, I mean, good luck. Good luck trying to find investors, you know, objectively, because it will be super difficult. It's
Right.
okay. I'm okay with that to be difficult. I'm not okay when I feel that the barriers are actually artificial, that it's based on, hey, you know, you don't know the right people, so you have no chance. You need to know the right people. You know, that's what I don't like.
No.
And you know, through and I feel that it exists. Obviously, you know, can I give specific examples? You know, I can't talk to specific examples. It's just the feeling I have. It's my judgment, okay, based on visiting different conferences, based different talking to different people, and I'm okay to pay. It's just, you know, I feel like I feel like you need to be a member of the club, to put it bluntly, okay, to be successful with EB5, and I don't like that.
Right.
So this concept of a platform
Right.
was really about how do we get rid of middlemen
Mhm.
in between an investor and a service provider, okay? Because middlemen, they play the role. I mean, real estate brokers, they play important role, extremely important role. And we pay 6% every time we want to, you know, rent, you know, a property, or we want to buy a house, we pay 6%. There is a value. And I'm hearing could be less than 6% now with the new things that they're introducing. But, you know, there's an important role that brokers play. However, um, if I'm an investor and I am, you know, coming from Poland or Hungary or any other, you know, country, how do I know where to place my demand?
Mhm.
How do I know that, you know, the service that I'm going to be getting is going to be fine, you know? And so traditionally, what they will tell you is, oh, you know, it's based on word of mouth. Word of mouth, that's what you do. You find a person who was successful, you go to that person, you get recommendation. And I understand their confidentiality aspect, so not everyone is prepared to put, you know, here's my income, here's my salary, here are my personal documents, and put it on a platform. God knows what's going to happen, you
Oh,
know,
I see what
because
you mean. Right.
you know, it's a big, right, but don't tell me that in today's environment there are no ways of how you keep your information. I mean, banks, we keep 90% of our confidential information on iCloud, you know, whether
Right.
we like it or not. It's all on the web anyway.
Right.
So my view is that there will come a time when big players are going to get together and they will create a platform
Mhm.
where, regardless of where you want to go, a Europe or, you know, different country or America, you will place your demand, which is, I am a family of, you know, 3 kids, you know, 2 kids. I live, these are my conditions. I'm a qualified investor. This is how I prove that I'm a qualified investor. And then I'd like to try a particular program, and please reach out to me within the next 48 hours and let me know your offer. And then I will make an objective selection
Hmm.
based on transparent set of criteria of who's going to be my broker, who's going to be my immigration attorney, who's going to
Mhm.
be my consultant. Okay, but
Wow.
I will make this decision,
That is really
right? And
very,
and and
you
so
are a
we
disruptor. You're a
Yeah,
disruptor.
I know it's a disruption, and of course, you know,
It's not, it's awesome.
yeah, I put some money into this. You know, I put quite a bit of money into this actually,
it's really cool.
and
Let me just say that I want to tell you that I'm a disruptor too. And so I love this disruption that you're introducing because through disruption, innovation happens.
Yeah,
And
and
innovation,
absolutely, you know, the disruption. You kind of look at the impressions of people because, you know, when we're thinking about the first EB5 project, we thought about like what are we offering to investors? You know, let's offer 1%, let's offer 2%, 3%, and everybody is doing it now, like, because, you know, that's the market. And then I said, what if we offer to our investors that we will, provided the application match exists, we'll offer them jobs in our project. And then we started talking to people, and everybody's reaction was like, "Oh no, these people don't need jobs. You know, they have so much money, they don't need jobs," which I don't believe is the case. And so everybody was extremely cold towards this idea. But believe me, I know that somebody will offer jobs, and this project will fly and will be successful. The same is with Citizen, because and of course, you know, it will be a different name. you know, and these people will come in and I know for a fact that the big players already thinking about this platform, and I know who, you know, I know the company names and what they've done, and so it's not it's not an idea without a substance. It's just you have to really think it through. You have to create a process where you almost design engineer, you know, the path to discovering. It's, you know, we need to have a laboratory where we would have to sort of discover, you know, the method of how people arrived at those decisions. Also, governments, local governments will kick in because they want to control, the governments, you know, want to control who's leaving, who's taking the money out and stuff. So there will be disruption. Rose, is to say the least. You know, to say it's a disruptive concept is to say nothing. I mean, it's absolutely revolutionary concept.
It's
And I apologize, you know, because my dog is here and my dog will be here. But
we have them
you know,
too. They're running around here as well. Well, you know what, Jason, this has been the most provocative conversation. We've gone from EB5, your wonderful project, a brand new platform for movement across the globe. You really have a unique perspective of the EB5 space, the sports, and such depth. I was wondering if I could coax you to come on in about 12 to 18 months again, so you can let everyone know how things have progressed in your world.
absolutely, absolutely. It would be my pleasure. It's exciting conversation, and thanks for your questions. So it's been a pleasure.
Awesome. And before we say goodbye, is there anything left last minute that you'd like to share with the audience before we say goodbye?
No, it's just, you know, pay attention to our project, Dudley Plaza, Woodlands. Elon Musk once said that, you know, Tesla is going to be a best car, full stop, and it's just happened that it's electric in addition to being a great car. Well, Dudley Plaza EB5 is a great project in itself. It's fantastic. It's 100% financed, 100% pre-leased, and it just happened that there is an EB5 project as well because we're so passionate about EB5, and it's an extremely strong project. So I would encourage you to go and check us out on sportsdevelopers.com.
Absolutely. And you'll find all those details in the show note. And with that, thank you, Jason. And we'll see you all next time on Bullish on Business podcast. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share this video with your colleagues. Take care.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everybody.
Bye.